Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a world that, well, it's pretty consistently terrified us, hasn't it? The Conjuring Universe. Specifically, The Conjuring, Last Rites. It's being talked about as the latest, maybe even the final chapter for Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Right, the final ride.
Exactly. And we've got a whole stack of sources here. Official movie site, info, cast stuff, interviews with the creators, and, those always interesting box office predictions.
Yeah, always fascinating to track.
Our mission today, really dig into what makes this Last Rites so significant. From the real-life creepy stuff that inspired it, how the characters are changing, to the scares themselves, and I guess where it fits in the bigger horror picture and the box office story.
And what's fascinating here is always that mix, isn't it? The Conjuring always blends that real-life, often pretty unsettling inspiration with just really slick cinematic storytelling. So this isn't just about jump scares, though I'm sure there'll be plenty. It's about getting into the history, the psychology of the characters, and maybe the strategy behind this huge horror franchise. Why this final chapter now,
That's exactly it. So, okay, the basics first. The Conjuring. Last Rites, supernatural horror, directed by Michael Chaves. Story by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick and James Wan, the architect himself.
Can't do it without Wan involved somewhere.
Right. And for everyone to know when, it's hitting theaters here in the U.S. on September 5th, 2025.
Okay.
But it's going global, too. Some places like South Korea, Finland get it even earlier, late August. International rollout starts September 3rd.
Spreading the fear worldwide.
Pretty much. And it's got an R rating, no surprise there. Bloody, violent content, terror, what we expect.
Absolutely. You wouldn't want less from a main Conjuring film.
And it's got a decent runtime, 135 minutes. So it's promising a pretty full experience.
Yeah, suggests they're not rushing the story. And that story, like you said, it's rooted in, well, supposedly real events. It's inspired by the 1986 Smurl family haunting, a case Ed and Lorraine Warren apparently investigated over in Pennsylvania.
Right, the Smurl case. I remember hearing about that one.
Yeah, pretty infamous. So the plot brings back Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as the Warrens, obviously.
Of course.
They're pulled out of retirement, basically, to deal with this family's year-long nightmare. The sources mention supernatural hostility, violent disruptions, demonic attacks. Pretty intense stuff.
Sounds like classic Warrens territory.
It does. And as they investigate, they find several ghosts present, but also a demon leads to this terrifying struggle to reclaim their house. That real-world connection just adds this, extra layer of creepiness, doesn't it?
It really does. Makes it feel a bit more possible. And the interviews, they get really specific about this demon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they describe it as a vengeful, bloodthirsty, death-inducing cob demon.
A cob demon. Okay, that's a new one on me.
Right. And apparently it will not rest until it gets what it wants, and what it wants is very, very personal to the Warrens themselves.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not just a random haunting.
Yeah.
It's targeted.
Exactly. That term cob demon, it sounds kind of unique. What do the sources say that actually is? Is it from, known folklore or something?
That's a really good question. From what we've pieced together, cob demon doesn't seem to be like a standard creature from, established demonology or widespread paranormal lore.
Oh, okay.
It feels more like something custom built by the filmmakers for this story, designed to be uniquely scary within this universe.
Gotcha. So filmmaker creation for maximum impact.
Seems like it. The description, vengeful, bloodthirsty, death-inducing, points to something with, real malevolent intent, not just sort of mindless poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
And the fact that its motives are very, very personal to Ed and Lorraine. That's the key, I think. It suggests some kind of history, maybe a connection or a grudge from a past case.
So it's like blowback from their work?
Possibly. It shifts it from just investigating a haunted house to, like you said, something personal.
Yeah.
A targeted attack. It becomes psychological, spiritual warfare directly against them.
Yeah.
Which, definitely ramps up the stakes for them and for us watching.
A custom demon with a personal axe to grind? Yeah, that's chilling. Especially aimed at Ed and Lorraine. Because they really are, they're the heart of this whole thing, aren't they?
Absolutely. The beating heart, as they say.
Vera Farmiga as Lorraine, Patrick Wilson as Ed. They just bring so much weight and believable warmth. It's not just the scares, it's them, their relationship. That's why people keep coming back, I think.
You totally nailed it. Their chemistry, their commitment, it's just fantastic. You look at their careers outside this Farmiga's Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
Wilson's Tony Nods, they bring serious acting chops.
Right.
These characters could easily be, kind of flat in other hands, but they make Ed and Lorraine feel so real, so human, vulnerable, but strong. Their bond is the anchor. It lets you invest not just in the spooky stuff, but in them, in whether they'll be okay. It makes sense when you hear the film described as a beautiful family story or an incredible family drama, even without the horror.
Yeah.
The relationship is the core. That's what we care about their last ride. It's their story we're following.
And it looks like this one doubles down on the family aspect, expanding it. We're getting Mia Tomlinson as Judy Warren, their daughter, but she's an adult now.
Right, grown up.
And Ben Hardy as Tony Sparrow, who's Judy's boyfriend, maybe fiance.
Future spouse, yeah.
And Judy's character arc sounds really interesting. She's apparently got psychic powers developing, like her mom.
Like mother, like daughter.
The source material says it's the first time that you see her explore it and not run from it. You see her embrace it.
That's a big shift for her character.
And Mia Tomlinson, the actress, actually met the real Judy Warren. That must add something special.
Oh, definitely. The sources say she had the pleasure of meeting and chatting to the real Judy Warren right there on set. And she tried to take pieces of what she's like and what's important to her into the performance.
That's incredible. Adds a layer of, realness.
Totally. It's not just playing a role. It's kind of channeling a real person's essence. And Judy getting these powers, that's huge for the family dynamic itself.
How so?
Well, think about Lorraine, how protective she is. Now her daughter is stepping into that same dangerous world, showing the same abilities. That's got to stir up a lot for her.
Yeah, I can imagine. Fear, maybe pride too.
Exactly. And vulnerability. The whole family is vulnerable, especially with this personal demon targeting them. It makes the emotional core really strong.
And then there's Tony Sparrow, Ben Hardy's character, Judy's boyfriend, described as supportive, non-judgmental, and brave. Sounds like what Judy would need, right?
Definitely someone grounded maybe in that world.
But he's got his own challenges. He proposes to Judy, but then he has to kind of earn Ed's approval.
The protective dad.
Yeah. Prove he's good enough for his daughter, but also that he can actually handle the world in which they live in. A world that's totally new to Tony.
So he's the outsider coming into this intense paranormal reality.
Exactly. There seems to be a lot of focus on this family drama. Do you think focusing so much on that, on the internal stuff, risks kind of overshadowing the horror, or does it make the scares better?
Oh, I think it enhances them, definitely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, why the franchise works so well, this family stuff isn't a distraction. It's the fuel.
Okay.
Lorraine's protective side kicking into high gear because of Judy's powers, Ed worrying about Tony entering this, dangerous life. It creates such rich emotional ground.
Right, relatable human stuff.
Exactly. It grounds the supernatural craziness.
Right.
When they're fighting for Judy's safety or for Tony's acceptance, the scares hit harder because we care about who is in danger, not just what the danger is.
Makes sense. You're invested in the people.
Yeah. It lifts it beyond just, things jumping out. It becomes this drama.
Right.
Where the family's love for each other is both their biggest strength and maybe their biggest weakness.
Yeah.
Especially for a final chapter. It's not just a haunted house movie. It's like the ultimate family test.
Yeah. That framing makes a lot of sense. The emotional stakes amplify everything. Okay, so let's talk about how they make those scares work. The director, Michael Chaves. People who worked with him call him a massive horror nerd.
Always a good sign for a horror movie.
Right. Passionate, adventurous, pushes himself, technically, and he's not new to this world. He's 4 movies in to this Conjuring verse.
He directed The Curse of La Llorona and The Devil Made Me Do It.
Exactly. So he's learned from James Wan and apparently really wanted to leave this franchise on a very, very high note. That personal drive has got to show up on screen.
It absolutely should. And that passion seems to extend to the details, like the production design. They apparently built the Smurl house set based off of real photos that we found and talking to the Smurl girls.
Wow, really trying to match it.
Yeah. The outside is an exact match of the house, according to the sources. That kind of commitment to accuracy, even in a horror film, it just anchors it.
Where did they film most of it? Still U.S.-based?
Mostly UK, actually. London and Hertfordshire, places like Knebworth Park were used.
Yeah.
And they also recreated the Warrens' iconic house.
Okay. And Chaves' approach to the scares themselves, is it all jump scares or?
It sounds like he's focused more on atmosphere. He talks about discomfort, how discomfort is where the scares are created in that tension and that discomfort. And apparently that is pretty profound here.
Building unease, not just shocks.
Exactly. Slow burn tension. And crucially, They really pushed that this was made for the big screen, specifically IMAX,
Yeah.
promising goosebumps, spine chills that get boosted by the sound system, the big visuals, making it an event.
You know, hearing that focus on discomfort in IMAX, it really underlines that this isn't just like another horror flick to stream while you're scrolling on your phone.
Right.
This is meant to be seen in a dark room with other people, feeling that shared tension. Makes a huge difference for horror, I think.
Totally changes the experience, turns it into something communal.
So, okay, all this craft, this emotional depth, where does Last Rites fit in the grand scheme of the Conjuring universe? Which is already, I mean, it's huge.
It's massive.
This is the 9th film, right? In a franchise that's made over $2 billion at the box office. James Wan and Peter Safran, the architects, still producing.
Yeah, it's a powerhouse.
And, like we keep saying, it's being pushed hard as the final Ed and Lorraine story, their one last ride. How significant is calling it final in Hollywood? Does final ever really mean final?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really significant move, marketing-wise. And the early numbers are interesting. It apparently scared up $8.5 million from previews just yesterday, September 4th.
Okay, $8.5 million in previews. How does that stack up?
Pretty well, actually. The reports say that's the best result for a horror movie since Five Nights at Freddy's, which did $10.3 million back in October 2023.
So, strong start.
Seems like it. Box Office Pro is forecasting an opening weekend between $40 and $50 million.
40 to 50, wow.
Yeah, and they even think it could potentially top The Nun's opening of $53.8 million, which would make it the best opening for any film in the entire franchise.
Okay, so on paper, that sounds amazing. No signs of slowing down there.
Well, on the surface, yes. But here's the wrinkle, the crucial counterpoint from the analysis. While the whole Conjuring universe with all the spin-offs is massive, if you look only at the core Conjuring films, the ones starring Wilson and Farmiga as the Warrens,
Yeah.
those specific films have actually shown a downward trajectory since the original film, at least domestically.
Really? Downward? How much?
Well, the first Conjuring in 2013 made about $137.4 million here in the U.S.
Okay, huge hit.
Massive. But the last one, The Devil Made Me Do It in 2021, that only brought in $65.6 million domestically.
No! That's less than half.
Exactly. Cut in half domestically for the main Warren storyline.
Wow, okay, that changes the picture quite a bit. So even though the spin-offs keep the universe huge, the main attraction, the Warrens themselves, saw their audience shrink significantly last time out.
Domestically, yes. And that lack of growth, as the analysis puts it, is seen as a potential bad omen.
Okay, so given that trend, how do we read this Last Rites branding? Is it genuinely them saying goodbye because the core films were fading, or is it more like a strategic long rest, like we see with other franchises sometimes?
I think the domestic decline is the real key here. It shows that even for huge franchises, audience fatigue for the core story can set in if it doesn't keep growing its primary audience.
Right.
So calling it Last Rites while it feels final is often a very smart business move. The studio might be thinking, as the sources suggest, it's wise to get out while the getting is good for this specific storyline.
Instead of running it into the ground.
Exactly. This idea of a long rest allows the existing films to find new audiences, maybe on streaming. It creates a bit of scarcity, makes the characters feel special again.
Like absence makes the heart grow fonder for horror fans.
Sort of, yeah. You preserve the brand's value. You avoid oversaturation. Think about Final Destination. It went quiet for ages before talk of a revival started.
Or Halloween, which has had like how many resets?
Right. So giving the Warrens this big emotional final chapter, it doesn't necessarily mean the door is locked forever. It builds anticipation.
Yeah.
Maybe 5, 10 years down the line, the appetite for their return could be huge again.
So it's about managing the legacy, keeping the characters revered while letting the market breathe.
Precisely. It's about the long game, maintaining that reverence while potentially setting up a more impactful comeback later.
That is a really fascinating peek behind the curtain, isn't it? How these beloved series are managed. What looks like an ending on screen is maybe just a strategic pause off screen.
Often the case with valuable properties.
Well, that brings us towards the end of our deep dive today on The Conjuring Last Rites. We've covered a lot, from the creepy real-life case that sparked it, the deepening, very personal stakes for the Warren family.
The evolution of Judy and introduction of Tony.
Right. To the way the scares are built for maximum discomfort and that big screen feel, and then this whole fascinating angle on the franchise legacy versus the box office numbers.
Yeah, the business side is always telling.
So that leaves us with a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on.
This raises an important question. Given everything we've discussed, the Last Rites marketing, the history of horror franchises doing the final chapter thing, the strategic thinking behind pausing versus ending, and considering how much fans genuinely love Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as the Warrens, plus this insight that maybe a long rest is actually smart business. Do you really think this final dive into the Warrens world is truly slamming the book shut? Or is it more like setting the stage for a very calculated, very long pause before their next inevitable, terrifying return? Something to think about.